So, how you been?
Good, man. It's been
Yeah,
heaps of practice, so you know, it's only so much you can fit in one day. But other than that, it's all right.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, I guess have you sort of like because obviously everything's been shifting towards First Strike? Have you guys been practicing like pretty hard, getting it all set up, or have you guys looked to make any changes to your the way your agent picks go and everything like that? Or you're pretty comfortable on that part?
So originally, like for a few maps, for example, we changed up a few of our roles because they weren't working in
Mm.
practice and they weren't really working in the initial top 32 stage and top 16. It was still kind of a bit rough. So we changed up a few of
Mm.
our comps, and it seemed to be working a lot better. And we're practicing that now while we're waiting for First Strike to begin. And so far seems so good. So um, yeah,
Yeah, cool. Because it's super interesting to me because Ferg's still IGL, correct? That's still rolling that way.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so but I noticed like obviously you typically think like IGL's mainly sitting on like a cipher or something like that, but I noticed you've actually been sort of flexing the cipher alongside your Omen, and Ferg's been more
Yeah.
like on the Rays and that kind of stuff. So definitely has been a bit of a shift.
Yeah, I think the reason that we've got me on the Cypher at the moment is because I enjoy holding down a bomb site, and I
Mm,
also enjoy lurking. So both of those, Cypher is like the perfect pick. On an
mm.
execute, Cypher does absolutely nothing. He maybe throws a cage is probably his maximum utility on an execute. So other than
He's
that,
put
you
his
trip
trip down on
behind.
flank, and that's about it. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You put your trip down,
Mm,
you walk around and pray that no one sees you. And
mm,
then holding down a site is just fun, other than getting Omen flashed and Breach flashed and Sky flashed and out of your mind. Yeah,
mm,
it's not, I like it. I like Cypher. And then Omen's just kind of my flex role, purely because I
mm,
played him during the beta. And
mm,
then it also gives room for Panic to switch on to different agents like Reyna, for example, and anything else he wants to play. So,
mm. Yeah, no,
hmm,
it's been really, really cool seeing him on the Reyna, especially with you on the Omen. Seems to be working like a pretty good combo. But I guess now stepping forward, I spoke to Ferg a little bit about how the team sort of came together and everything because you guys have been around in your respective games for so long. I remember seeing you dabble around in obviously like Battalion for a little bit.
yeah.
Obviously like everyone, all of us has had CS backgrounds, and Ferg and Gaza playing back in like 2008. Everyone of you guys has like a really, really long timeline. So it kind of made sense that when you guys came together, despite having some sort of separation, you guys all sort of fell together pretty well, pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the especially the CS background is obviously the game that kind of helps the most.
Mm,
And even Battalion is kind of it's a similar game, obviously a bit different, and it felt more like Call of Duty, because that's kind of what the game is based off. But it still
mm,
has the same fundamentals that Valorant has. You've still got the 5v5 teamwork, and while that game still had the grenades and the smoke grenades, and Valorant's got I don't know how many abilities, too many to count. It's still everything's still similar. You still do the same execute. You still throw your utility in before you go. You can dry swing. It's yeah, everything that you've played leading up to Valorant, or like that's kind of why the scene at the moment it's so interesting because you have people coming from like a whole bunch of different games. For example, Wildcard I think have two players that are from PUBG, which is a game that's
yeah.
completely different.
Mm.
Um, but it's cool. It's cool to see all these new games coming across. You got Fortnite players, Overwatch players. It's definitely interesting.
That was one of the coolest things for me, especially even coming in as a caster. Like you'd see all these people that do like R6 and other people that have come like from League and all these other
Yeah,
things. Obviously, CS fundamentals, and you got Avril from Overwatch and stuff. So I think that's super cool because I guess it is a very inclusive game. Whilst it does have a high ceiling, I guess it sort of revolves less around aim, more so on like the structure and the utility use and everything like that. So I think that's pretty cool. So I guess going forward from there, since you guys have all transitioned pretty well, what does it actually mean for the team to qualify for First Strike?
I think for us, it was a chance to prove ourselves as or I guess a pretty new team. I mean, this is the first competition we've entered under Legacy. Or other than, sorry, we played the Chiefs one.
Yeah,
Um,
the mechs where you guys took a map off auto,
yeah,
EXO, sorry.
yeah, exactly. So we've obviously shown that we've got potential, when we are all on the day. So as long as that form continues, hopefully Hopefully it does, and it should
Mm.
with the amount of practice that we've been doing. Um, Hopefully we can repeat those results. Taking a map off order, what, last Saturday, I want to say,
Yeah, on the weekend just
was
gone. As then you Sunday, you guys beat whoever you had to beat to qualify, Everypete.
Ripper.
So that
Yeah,
was pretty good result there as well. So
yeah,
yeah, man, like that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on. Like obviously, Ferg gave a really good explanation. Like people seem, and it's similar like in Renegades and CS:GO right now, right? They put these teams at the top of the pinnacle, and it's like they almost like immortalizing them, like seeming like they're untouched. So it was very refreshing for you guys to be like, yeah, like they're good, but they're just a team. Like we just have
yeah.
to refocus and just treat them like any other team to try beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Every team's got their weaknesses, every team's got their strengths. And if any of those are out of place, if anyone's playing bad that day, if anyone's playing amazing that day, it changes the result of the entire game. And
Mm.
especially being a game like this, where if you're on during the day and you're hitting everything, you're going to dominate. I mean, you can change rounds single-handedly so easily in this game.
Yeah. Mm.
You run around a corner, one tap through people, all there goes around. And there's only
Mm.
so much people can do. So there's definitely, yeah, it's nice.
Mm. So you guys are going to be going up against Avant first up, which is a team that hasn't similar sort of in the same light as EXO. They haven't changed up like a whole lot. I mean, EXO's changed up their agent selection like a little bit, but I feel like Avant pretty much are fundamentally the same. But they've also been, showing up and doing some pretty good stuff. But how do you guys feel like you match up going into them? Obviously after the brackets changed, seems like you guys had
Yeah.
a bit of a, I guess an easier run potentially, but like, hey, at
Yeah,
least it's not the same matchup.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, we'll leave the brackets discussion away. Uh, yep. But yeah, I think against Avant, I think we definitely have like a decent chance to take that matchup. We've seen how Avant play, and we're confident that well, to put it, I guess, harshly, put them in the dirt and say see you later. Um, but yeah, I feel like we can definitely beat Avant. And then moving on to the next stage, I think we will be playing against EXO if the predictions go correct and they do actually beat Wildcard. But we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah, Wildcard are actually a team that I look forward to seeing up against EXO because they've been doing similar things for you guys. Relatively new team, but obviously putting up results. Very versatile with their agent selections as well. Like a little bit different. And I suppose if Infrequent's having a good day, he's having a good day, and that always means something, which is nice. But yeah,
yeah.
so guess the next thing, an interesting one. Like obviously you've been playing a fair bit of pubs as well, but Icebox. That's going to be on. What do you think? Like, do you think it's just going to be insta banned out, or do you think it actually might get some light?
I feel like some teams are going to keep Icebox in there. A lot of
Mm,
teams won't have much practice on it, so I feel like the more established teams or the teams that have been practicing for hours and hours on end.
mm.
For example, I know Mindfreak have been like practicing for 6 to 7 hours a day. I see them asking for scrims at 4 p.m. I'm just getting home from work, so that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
But teams like that, I feel like they're going to leave Icebox in because they will have the chance to have practiced it, to have their strategies down pat and all their teamwork sorted out for it. And then the newer teams or teams that have less time to kind of get that map under wraps, I guess, will probably ban it, or they will leave it in because there's other maps that they know they're not confident with, and Icebox will just have to be a map that teams just have to pray for, I guess. I mean, there's only so many maps. There's only so many maps you can ban. At the end of the day, you're probably going to be playing a map that you're not 100% confident on,
Mm,
but you've got to play it to the best of your ability, and you've still got to win on it. So,
mm. Well, I guess then I suppose we sort of roll on. Like, obviously, given your multi-title sort of background and everything, what's your thoughts on so far, like how the Oceanic Valorant community has been, and also how's it been like adapting to the game itself? Like, what's that been like an experience for yourself as a player?
I feel like the community in Valorant's. I feel like the community in Valorant is pretty tight. If I haven't really got another word for it. Everyone seems to be pretty
Mm,
supportive of each other. Obviously, there's still some rivalries from previous games, um,
mm,
but at the moment, I feel like the community is pretty, pretty happy with each other. I mean, everyone bound together um, to sort out issues.
mm,
Um, Leave it as issues.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's helping each other. No one's really throwing anyone under the bus that I've seen
Mm.
so far. So that's nice. Um, and I've got the second half of the question.
Adapting to the game as like yourself, what's it
Uh,
sort of feel like trying to get used to it and everything like that?
yeah, I mean, for myself with the CS background, adapting to Valorant hasn't been too difficult. I mean, especially I think I stopped playing for 2 to 3 years
Mm.
after. Well, I think my last team I played for was actually the Legacy Counter-Strike
That's what
team.
I was just thinking then. Yeah, you guys,
Yeah.
what would that like an AEM LAN or something like that? Like under the Legacy banner, probably back in the day?
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't even know. I have no idea what the last lane would have been.
Mm.
But yeah, adapting from CS, obviously the game is super similar. I mean, there's no question of or doubt. The game is basically Counter-Strike with Overwatch abilities. Is
Mm.
kind of what everyone's kind of thrown to the wards. I guess explaining the game. So yeah,
Mm.
I mean, and having our entire team having a CS background
Mm.
has made strategies for basically every map super easy to come up with. Everyone knows the fundamentals of trade fragging and things like that, so it's been pretty easy to adapt into the game, I'd say.
Cool. So I guess, obviously, like, there's been some really cool things to see. Like, I was just looking at the bracket again, like checking up. You guys is obviously a new team. Gravitas has also made it in. Direwolves are looking really good as well. They've been making their
Yeah.
way through. So aside from sort of those guys and the other teams, maybe they might even be a team in First Strike. But is there any individual players or teams that you sort of had an eye out for that like you think are going to be really, really, solid as the game continues to develop?
So obviously the two teams at the moment are EXO and Order. I feel like they're always going to be
Mm.
solid. I feel
Mm.
like EXO, while currently they are one of the best teams, I feel like I don't want to say that they're going to drop off. I feel like they need to put in effort to match Order because I feel like Order are going to skyrocket, especially with picking up or Disco and Autumn. I feel like they're two
Mm.
very good
Yeah.
players, especially into their current roster with the support of Texter, Dick Stacy, and Tux. I
Mm.
feel like that lineup is very strong, and having those three very experienced CS players, and then picking up two, mm, I wouldn't say young. Well, they are pretty young. I think Autumn's only 19. I'm not sure how old
Mm.
Disco is, but they're
Yeah, Kale's
I'm pretty
Kale's
sure they're
pretty
both.
young. Disco's a bit older, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Mm.
feel like yeah, definitely Order is one of the teams that everyone's going to have to look out for, especially as time progresses and every team gets better, I guess. Um,
Mm.
Another team that's honestly it's been pretty surprising. Direwolves, while none of their players aren't known, um,
Mm.
I feel like they've surprised me with the results that they've had recently. They've been playing pretty well. They've been beating teams that I didn't expect them to beat. But I mean, Valorant's one of those games where there's so many upsets happening all the time. Especially in that best of one format, you saw teams go through who went 3-0 and then got absolutely destroyed in the top 16
Yeah.
and didn't qualify. So I feel like there's always that chance of an upset. So at the moment, yeah, they're probably the three teams that are on my radar at the moment. Um, I feel like every other team at the moment is pretty stable or looking. I feel like there's going to be more time for them to progress compared to the other
Mm.
three. But yeah,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that was like I was just thinking about it when you're talking on sort of order. Like Texter moving away from obviously starting in Sage, which was really strange at the start, and then sort of went to a duelist. Now he's back on a support in Breach. Dick Stacy somehow top fragging on and Sova like more supportive role and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really cool in the sense that whatever role you're playing, you can still have a really high like fragging impact. It doesn't
yeah,
seem like it needs to fall into this. You're playing a support, so you should be underperforming, like quote unquote. I think that's
yeah,
one really really cool thing about the game. Yeah, no, like Autumn as well, like on the Cypher, similar to yourself, like likes locking down a site, but like all of a sudden it could seem like the team is just going to your site every single time. They just
yeah.
continue to lock them out. So, I guess obviously you guys are going to have your site set on first, but is there any sort of expectations that you guys have got going into knowing the bracket, knowing who you're going to be versing? Like, do you see where you think you'll at least get to in the rest of the competition?
I think I feel like we were 100%, 90, I can't be 100%, but 99.9% sure that we will beat
Yeah.
Avant. And then if everyone's playing up to the standard that we know we can play at, I reckon we can beat EXO. And then first thing order will probably be the hardest game of the tournament. I feel like we definitely have the chance to beat them, but everyone needs to be on their A game, I guess, that day, and hopefully order aren't.
Well, man, I was watching Haven, and like for a team that's so new, like, and the opportunities that you guys like can get by just like sharpening a couple of things, and as you say, right, like not if all the players aren't all on at the same time, that's when you guys can sort of slip away against some of these good teams. But man, look, always a pleasure catching up with you. So I guess, is there any closing words that you'd like to say before you get some sleep? Yeah.
Thanks for
Cheers,
having
brother.
me, I guess.